I decided to do a video about the Las Vegas shootings, and now I'm standing here thinking of what I'm even going to say. I've been thinking about it all day. I've been thinking about it almost 2 days. And I set up the lights, set up the backdrop, turned on the camera, and what the hell do I even say? I saw yesterday that Akilah obviously, just posted a video that she made about gun violence from 2 years ago, and she said it's still relevant. And she's right, and maybe that's what I should have done, because I've talked about this before in multiple videos on this channel. The day after the shooting happened, I shared this article from the New York Review of Books from 5 years ago that was written in the wake of Sandy Hook. Just as relevant today as it was 5 years ago. So there's a feeling that everything that can possibly be said on this issue has already been said, but I feel like I should say something, even if I do just end up repeating myself, because I have this camera, I have this YouTube channel, I have this platform, small though it may be, even if only a few thousand people will ever watch this video. That's more than there would be if I just didn't say anything. And if I'm not going to use this YouTube channel to talk about stuff like this, even if it requires me to struggle for my words, or to wonder what I'm even going to say, or to repeat myself from the past, if I'm not going to talk about stuff like this, what the hell am I even doing here? Why am I even doing this? I woke up yesterday, or I guess I should say Monday, because I'm not sure when I'm going to post this. Yesterday as I shoot this, but Monday. And I turned on my Kindle, checked the news like I do every morning, and I just sort of lay there quietly for a few minutes. My wife is next to me doing the same thing. We have the same routine, looking at her device. And after a few minutes, she says, "Did you see about Las Vegas?" And I said, "Yeah." And I had that moment. I thought, it happened again. And it's that moment that maybe it's difficult for people who don't live in the United States and don't live in a country that has a gun problem like we have. Maybe it's difficult to imagine what it feels like, or maybe you just have the same feeling about something else. I don't know. But it's that feeling that you're never surprised. You knew it was going to happen eventually. You knew it was only a matter of time. And you open the newspaper, or turn on the TV, or check your computer or your phone or your tablet, and you see the headlines. It happened again. This time in Vegas, it was, by my last count that I heard, 59 dead, something like 500 injured. Guy taking shots at people from the 30th floor, the 32nd floor of a hotel, just picking people off down in the crowd, people who had come to attend a music festival. And he just picks them off like ants, like it was nothing. And what do you say when that happens? What do you say when the Pulse shooting happens? What do you say when Sandy Hook happens, or when Columbine happens? Or you can throw a dart at the wall, because there have been as many mass shootings this year so far as there have been days in the year. They haven't all been of the magnitude of Vegas, but mass shooting incidents defined as a single occurrence where 4 or more people are shot. There's been one of those in the United States for every day of 2017. And 30,000 people die from gun-related causes every year. That's mass shootings, that's homicides, that's suicides, that's accidental deaths. That's justifiable homicide, self-defense, everything. 30,000 people die of gun-related deaths every year. And that's been a steady figure for years. Sometimes it's a little higher, sometimes it's a little lower. It's always about 30,000 people. What happens is, when one of these events takes place, you have the moment of, oh my God, it happened again. And then if you're very lucky, you read a little bit into it, you figure out exactly what happened, you figure out where it happened, you figure out who was involved. And if you're very fortunate, you say, oh good, it was nobody I knew. I didn't lose anybody. Or it didn't happen in my community. I don't feel directly affected by it. That's if you're very lucky. As far as I know, there was one woman from Maryland, my state, who was among the victims of the Las Vegas shooting. She was not killed, at least she has not died as of this recording, but she's in the hospital. She's apparently in serious condition, lost an eye. She just went to Las Vegas for a vacation, for a fun time like people do. Lost an eye in the hospital. Hopefully she'll pull through. The flags here in Maryland are at half-staff in her honor and in honor of the other victims of this crime. That we'll do that. We'll put the flags at half-staff. We'll do that. But stricter gun regulation? Nah, we can't do that. We can come up with all kinds of great reasons to not do anything. That's probably what we're best at. Not just relative to the gun issue, but just in general in the United States of America. If we could find a way to export our making a virtue out of doing nothing industry, if we could find a way to get paid for that, and I'm surprised we haven't, by the way, because the only god that we hold higher than the gun in the United States of America is the dollar. I'm surprised we haven't found a way to get paid for exporting our making a virtue out of doing nothing industry, because goddamn, we're good at that. If we could find a way to get paid for that, then our national debt would disappear overnight, because, you know, we would do that. We're Americans. We would get paid for taking a piss if we could figure out how to do that. And honestly, somebody probably figured out how to do that, and I just didn't hear about it. I would be surprised if it hadn't happened already, because that's what we live for here in America, the dollar, the profit motive. That's why so many of our legislators are completely useless when it comes to this issue in the wake of events like this. That's why half of our national legislature, and honestly, really the other half too, because the Democrats aren't worth shit on this either. They talk a good game. They say all the right things. They attend the vigils, and they vote against the bills, and they say this is terrible, we should do something. But when push comes to shove, they're not fucking there. They don't do anything either. It's the Republicans that run the show, and it's the NRA that runs the Republicans, so it's really the NRA that runs the show. And that's why nothing will happen. That's why we'll keep pretending that the rest of the developed world hasn't figured this out. We'll keep pretending that the United States, supposedly the greatest country in the world, is just at the mercy of these events. There's nothing we can do. It's the price of freedom. I saw Bill O'Reilly say that, which raised another question in my head, which was, who the fuck asked him? Why are we still turning to Bill O'Reilly for insight on stuff? Why is anybody the least bit interested in what Bill O'Reilly had to say about anything? That fucking racist, wife-beating, sexual harassing piece of shit who was such a scumbag that he lost his job at Scumbag Central, Fox News. He was such a scumbag that even Fox News, who continues to employ Sean fucking Hannity, who continues to employ Tucker Carlson, who continues to put on that shit show Fox and Friends every morning, Fox News decided O'Reilly wasn't worth it anymore. Sorry, Bill, you're too much of a scumbag even for us. We got to let you go. You're too much of a liability for us. And yet I still see Bill O'Reilly's name in headlines after a mass shooting, after one of the worst mass shootings in American history. And he says, oh, it sucks, but this is just the price of freedom. Really? It happens in no other developed nation. Not to this extent. Doesn't happen in Australia, doesn't happen in New Zealand, it doesn't happen in Canada, doesn't happen in Britain, doesn't happen in Germany. Happens here all the time. One mass shooting for every day of the year so far. Doesn't happen in any other comparable nation on the planet. Happens here all the time. Somebody over there figured it out. And we could figure it out too, but we just don't care. Enough of us don't. Some of us care, but enough of us don't care. Somebody was sharing around an article, and actually I Googled it. There are a bunch of articles with this headline or a very similar headline, and they say, it's not a gun problem, it's a heart problem. And it's people making excuses for the guns that say that. They say, you regulating the guns won't do any good. Pay no attention to all the countries that did regulate the shit out of the guns where this kind of thing doesn't happen so often. But yeah, you can't regulate the guns. I won't do it. It's just bad people doing bad things. It's not a gun problem. It's a heart problem. And I think those people are full of shit and contemptible and should be ashamed of themselves for the kind of thing they're apologizing for and enabling. Those people can all go to hell as far as I'm concerned. But in a way, they're right. It is a heart problem. Because we love our guns more than we love each other, more than we love our communities, more than we love our fucking children. Our guns are more important than all of those things. That article that I shared from 5 years ago from the New York Review of Books, it said, guns are our Moloch. Meaning that there is nothing that we as Americans are not willing to sacrifice to keep our guns. And that's the truth. And when I think about it that way, and when I talk about it like this, it does feel hopeless. It does feel like doing this sort of thing is just for my own vanity or to soothe my own conscience, and it's just a waste of time. Because it really seems like it's never going to do any good. If Sandy Hook didn't produce meaningful reform, is Las Vegas going to do that? I mean, more people were killed. It was a horrific tragedy, but it's just the latest in a series of horrific tragedies that have been unfolding now for decades. Never made a difference before. Politicians never found the guts before to stand up to the gun lobby. So what's the fucking point? It's easy to think that. But then on the other side, I think too many people have died. Too many people are dead right now because of gun-related causes from this country. And too many people are living with the memory of a person who should still be alive, but isn't. And too many activists have spent too many hours and days and years of their lives trying to make a difference, pushing against this brick wall, never once feeling it move, but continuing to push, continuing to try. There's too much of that that's already gone down for us to just give up. If enough people push against that wall for long enough, that wall will fall. And even though it feels hopeless, even though something like this happens and the same cycle starts all over again, oh, it's too soon, let's not politicize it, regulating guns wouldn't have stopped it, you can't regulate evil, it's the price we pay for our freedom. Even though it seems hopeless when all that starts up again in the wake of just an unfathomable tragedy like this. I mean, you can't give up. We can't just stop. I mean, this is the way it is with people still trying to make it better. Just think of what we're holding back. Just think of what people who continue to raise their voices and call their senators and congressmen and raise money and raise awareness and push for reform. Just think of all that those people and their work is holding back. Imagine how much worse it could be if the reformers, if the people who try in vain so far, but try to be the conscience of this nation on this issue. Imagine how much worse it would be if they just gave up. So they can't give up. We can't give up. We have to keep saying these things over and over again every time something like this happens. We have to continue to show our anger and our grief. We have to continue to demand that we do better. We have to continue to demand that we value something in this country more than our fucking guns. Find something else to value. Find something higher than a fucking gun. Something that you will see threatened, and it will make you lay that gun down. You will give it up. You will see what the gun is threatening, what the gun is costing you, or costing your neighbors, or your family, or your friends, or your community, or your country. You'll see what that gun is threatening, and you will lay it down. You will throw it away. And you'll say, it's not worth that. And I don't know what that is. But we can't stop looking for it. We just can't. We can't. This can't continue to be just the way it is. And we can't let it get any worse. We have to do something. That's it.